quiet as this, I think. In Kashmir, much as we loved it, when it was quietest, it was noisier than noon at the farm. And when people talk, even just close to each other like this, they shout at the top of their lungs. Can't carry on a normal conversation at all. And it's something about the vibration of the area that even the birds are noisy. You know how quiet doves are. Well, the doves there are so energetic in their cooing that I was trying to take a nap one day, and there was a dove on a telephone wire about 50 feet away from my window. I had to go out and throw a stone at it to chase it away. It was so noisy. Let's have a little meditation and then we'll talk. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, Lord Krishna, Jesus Christ, Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Sri Yukteswarji, beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yoganandaji, saints of all religions, we bow to all of you. We offer you our love, our service. Make us willing, make us fit instruments for thy love, that all who meet us feel thy presence, not our consciousness, but thine. Om, peace. Amen. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurudeva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurti Dandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamashyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvade Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunadrahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. At thy feet, oh, I do beautiful, oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. In the forest thou art free, in the forest thou art free, in the mountains thou art high, in the mountains thou art high, in the river thou art restless, in the river thou art restless, in the ocean thou art great, in the ocean thou art great. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. At thy feet, oh, I do bow. At thy feet, oh, I do bow. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. To the service, oh, thou art service. To the service, oh, thou art service. To the lover, thou art love. To the lover, thou art love. To the sorrowful, thou art sympathy. To the sorrowful, thou art sympathy. To the yogi, thou art bliss. To the yogi, thou art bliss. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. At thy feet, oh, I do bow. At thy feet, oh, I do bow. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. Oh God, beautiful, oh God, beautiful. Let's meditate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 All of you have given in making that place possible. It's really beautiful. And I think it's going to be, it really feels as if it'll be possible to have seclusion here in future with that room there, because I never had a place to escape to before. It's been quite a test for me having that thing, the two things have been very hard for me to adjust to over the years. One is accepting service from other people. I've always felt, well, but I'm here to serve them. I'm not here for them to serve me. And it's really been hard to accept that it does them good to serve too, and I shouldn't be selfish. And the other thing that's been hard is to have any thought of personal ownership, that I own this. I know when I came back from India, my parents offered me a car. And it was months before I could get my mind around to adjusting to the fact that I needed a car and therefore I should accept it, because the thought of owning something so expensive, it made me feel unclean somehow. So finally I said, all right, it's God's car and I'll use it for God's work. And that's what I feel about this house, that it's God's house, not my house. In fact, legally so too, for that matter. But I was telling Kalyani and the others that it's probably a good thing that Divine Mother took me out of the country, because if I had been here, that place wouldn't have been built. I'd have stopped it long ago, but I'll get into that later. It just, I was trying to adjust to its being 3,000 more than I had expected, because my mother had given me some money for the house. And, she'd given me some money which I planned to use for the house. And then it came out to be more than that. And I was trying to think, should I stop the work? Or, well, I can't stop the work because they've started. And so, but I had no idea it would be as costly as it is. And I know I would never have done it if I'd had any inkling. So I think Divine Mother took me out so that I could have a place here for seclusion, so I wouldn't go away all the time like this when I need seclusion. So anyway, as I said, we'll talk about it a little bit more later. We've had a wonderful trip. It's been very refreshing, very spiritually uplifting, very full of lessons and insights, understandings. It's been wonderful on many, many levels. As you know, when I left here, I was very tired. So tired that I got a little bit of flu in Switzerland, and it knocked me out so much that to cross the room to get something, just crossing the room from my bed, I would have to stand there leaning over something, panting for 2 minutes before I had the strength to come back and fall into bed again. And flu doesn't do that much to people, I don't think. I didn't have flu badly. But it was that I was so run down that really I had driven myself to the limit of my strength and beyond it, wanting to get the path done so that we could get our show on the road, because I knew that very much depended on getting it out. And then, with resting in India and so on, why, all that became a thing of the past, and I've come back here full of vim, vigor, and vitality. The spirit that we found everywhere showed me how much this new spirit that we have here is needed. Everywhere we went, we found people bound. It's sort of like when you come into a new body, a new incarnation. You have you have habits in a sense from past incarnations, but they're pretty well forgotten. And so that you start not with a completely clean slate, but a relatively clean slate. And then gradually you begin to identify yourself, first with your family, then with the language, then with your neighborhood, then with the knowledge that you're fed in school, then with your job, and your own family, and your wife, and your children. And as you see people grow into their incarnations, you see them getting progressively more self-defined in terms of the experiences and acquisitions and responsibilities and so on that they surround themselves with, so that by the time most people, this doesn't happen to everybody, but by the time most people reach the age of 40, they're already pretty much what Master used to call psychological antiques. You just bend them a little bit the wrong way and they snap. They can't adjust to new things. They can't go in new directions. They just sort of go straight ahead. They are bankers. They are fathers. They are mothers. They do have this particular position in society. And everything that they think is in terms of their own self-definitions, to the point where anything new that's introduced to them, they can only understand if they can somehow relate it to that old knowledge. Otherwise, they simply reject that knowledge as either non-existent, impossible, or trivial. Max Planck, the famous German scientist, said that a new scientific truth doesn't gain acceptance so much by its logic as by the fact that the old scientists die and the new ones new ones are born that are brought up with these new ideas and can somehow assimilate them into their body of knowledge. Then, of course, they gradually become psychological antiques and the whole process starts all over again. So it is that we need to die and we need to be reborn in new bodies so that we can keep on growing, so that we can keep on assimilating the experiences that our lives in this world are supposed to give us, assimilating them and learning from them, because there comes a point, usually the cutoff point is about the age of 40 for most people. There are some people who are fresh and alive into their 80s and 90s. They are the exceptions, unfortunately. Most people, the cutoff age is 40, and many of them it's 20 or younger, where they stop thinking, they stop growing, they just start thinking they know it all already, and anybody who disagrees with them is absolutely foolish and wrong. We had a funny experience in Honolulu. We went to a coffee shop, and after all, Hawaii is the center of Kona coffee. So this man prided himself on his coffees and his knowledge of coffees. He was an expert in coffees, and he spoke of noble coffees as they speak of noble wines and so on. And I said, "Do you have any Kona coffee?" "Oh, we don't have any of that stuff here. Dreadful stuff." I said, "You mean, why don't you like it?" "It's not a question of my liking, it's not opinion. It simply is dreadful, and if you disagree with him, you're simply wrong, and that's that." Well, maybe he was right. I won't argue that. But the point is that this way of thinking becomes, unfortunately, inevitable for most people as they get older. And that's why, as Master said, when they die and go to the astral world, the angels say, "Here comes another psychological antique. Let's send him back to Earth so he can learn all over again. Reprocess him." So what I got this same feeling in traveling around, that the world itself has become a psychological antique. Our culture has grown towards so much self-definition, so much over-specialization, so much complexity, so much knowledge of techniques that they've forgotten the spirit. A lovely thing Gayatri was telling me this morning that I was really amused by. She said that Hanel told her that when he's showed his photographs to people, many times people say, "Oh, what camera did you use?" Well, that's always interesting, but it's not relevant. A box camera won the National Photography Contest one year in this country. A good camera is always a joy to behold, no doubt. But the thing that is needed in photography, in dance, in music, in politics, in spirituality and religion, in everything, and what is lacking, people have gotten away from an understanding that it's a sensitive spiritual outlook into things, at things, that really is the essence of understanding, and not the amount of techniques that we have. Nowadays in America, for example, if people want to get a new understanding of something, what they do is appoint a fact-finding commission. And then they appoint another fact-finding commission. And 10 years later, they finally decide that maybe the metric system is better than the system we have now, whatever it's called. The whole attitude, and I've seen it all around the world. This has been my 5th trip to India, my 4th time around the world, and I've had a chance to see this old planet from many different angles, but in every angle it tells the same story. You think, spiritual India, and I know a lot of people, after reading Autobiography of a Yogi, they got the impression that all you have to do is go to the Himalayas and look up the nearest guru. Probably you don't have to look him up, you'll find him sitting there in lotus pose on a street corner. Just go up to him and thrust your chest out and say, slap me and I'll go into ecstasy. And they've gone there, and of course they find that it's not that simple. Master, because of his humility, made it sound as if anybody could get the experiences he had with Sri Yukteswar and Master Mahashaya and so on. And of course it's a truth that anybody can, but it's also a truth that you've got to work as hard as he did to reach the point where you are ready for that kind of experience. But India, like the rest of the world, and I suggest you give Vijay a couple of months before you ask him about India. Because now he'll give you a cynical chuckle. It's incredible. I mean, you reach the point where you absolutely know that anything that they do, they're going to bungle. Anything. It's just hard to believe. And they do it with such gusto and such absolute determination to find what's in it for them first. You can have somebody give them $1 billion to rebuild the country, and it'll end up in all sorts of palatial estates for government servants. Years ago, I had the experience in India of trying to cancel a plane reservation on the phone. And they wouldn't do it. I had to go in to cancel it. And I said, everywhere else in the world I can cancel plane reservations by phone. What is this? And when I went in, they told me, sort of shamefacedly, well, the trouble was that so many businessmen had their rival businessmen cancel their plane reservations. Spiritual India. It's a mess, and it's getting worse. It is desperately in need of overhauling. It's got to be reprocessed one way or another, or it will simply explode in a cloud of its own confusion. Because everything they do is, as I say, bungled. It's not the Indian character. If you find Indians in other countries where they don't have this impossible system to work with now, that they have now, you find that the Indians always rise very quickly to the top of society wherever they are. They're extremely intelligent, extremely capable. Unfortunately, the negative side. Every country has its plus and its minus. The negative side of this extreme subtlety of mind, which has evolved this extraordinary philosophy, the highest philosophy that any civilization has evolved in the world. At the same time, it's the country that evolved the game of chess, which Sherlock Holmes, the great expert, said somebody who has an inordinate love of chess usually has a scheming mind. And they are marvelous schemers. So you can take it either way. They can go toward cleverness, or they can go toward extreme subtlety, depending on their own spiritual refinement. But India, Europe, everywhere it's the same story. This country is miles ahead of any country that we visited as far as spiritual fertility goes. I don't speak, you've got fertile soil, that doesn't mean you've got a tree. Spirituality needs to be developed in this country, but it's there, the soil is there. You feel the energy is right for it. You feel the readiness to adapt to new things is there. There is this genuine goodness in the hearts of people, this kind of trust. And it's a beautiful thing. I really feel that a great, as Master said, I feel it from my experience, that many Indian souls have been born in this country, and many Western souls are being born in India. And that's why you find the rushing toward matter as fast as they possibly can. Ultimately, it will create a balance. I don't say that India's on the skids at all. All I say is that it's got a lot of adjusting to do, as we have to do. We've got a fertile soil for spiritual development, but there's an enormous amount of work to be done that way, and we are not living in an age where it's the divine will for us to just go off into the mountains and meditate and seek for ourselves. It isn't God's will. We've got to create spiritual centers, pilgrimage places. We don't have pilgrimage places now in the West. We have to create these nuclei of spiritual force that people will go to and receive that kind of recharging that they used to receive in spiritual centers in India. But even there, their spiritual centers need a certain house cleaning. They have become very materialistic, and the real centers there are the ashrams of great saints. That's where you find Hinduism, nowhere else. Unfortunately, nowhere else right now. So, the experience that we had there in going around the world, by the way, one thing that was just beautiful. I'm so glad that I took a number of people from Ananda, because when anybody meets one person, then they say, oh well, he has peace because he's a particular type of person. But then they see other people who are doing the same thing, and then they start saying, oh, what they're doing must be wonderful. So a lot of people actually said this to us on the trip, that, well, we know you, talking to me, and we've always liked you, we've always felt peace and so on from you, but we've always felt that, well, it was because you were a special kind of person. But now we see that it must be what you're doing, because these others that you have with you are all so shining and so happy. And so Mr. Moses in Kashmir, he said, all these customers come into my shop, and I send most of them away. I don't even want to deal with them. They don't smile. They're just out for business. Then you people come in, and you're always smiling and so happy, and just to look at you makes my day. And he realized that it had to be the community itself, because there were 5 of us there, and all were in the same kind of a mood. Well, this is what they said in Australia, and and everywhere we went, it was the same thing. As many were saying, well, these must be your closest co-workers. Well, I said, Seva's worked closely with me, but Vijay and Prahlad, I've known much less time, and I haven't worked as closely with. So it wasn't that, it was the whole community is like that. And of course, coming here and seeing you all is just a reminder of something I knew all the time and felt. Even while I was in India, I felt your love and I felt your prayers and blessings. It was not as if I was far away at all. I really felt that we were all together, even though miles separated our bodies. But what is it that we have that's special, that other communities like ours have that's special, or that individuals have that this new age needs? Because it is a tired old man. It's time for a rejuvenation. We have to get away. This is the way I feel. We've got to get away from the excessive commitment, the excessive self-definition that comes with old age. The specialization that we've gotten into in this country, where I know a man who doesn't only perform nothing but heart surgery, but he only performs one particular kind of heart surgery. We've reached the point in medicine where it's impossible to know everything, and the known knowledge that's coming in is staggering. Every year there's more and more, and doctors who think in this way think that they've got to keep reading, and they more and more treat people like machines. but it just doesn't work in practice. People are people, and the doctor is a person, and his work with the patient is a very intuitive thing. He's acting as a channel for the forces of the universe. He's acting for an instrument of the universe. There is something very special going on, that when all is said and done, there is something different about each person. What will help one person may not help many others, even though they have exactly the same problem from a medical point of view. There has to be brought back into the medical field. I say this on Medicine First because Gayatri and I were talking this morning. But there has to be brought back into the medical field the basic central knowledge. We've got to come back to man as a phenomenon and not to man as a civilized definition. And it's true in the arts. When I was in Australia, there was a lady there. She's been the president for many years of the International Yoga Teachers Association. And she studied ballet and Indian dance and incorporated these two forms into a very lovely interpretation of Master's chant that she had the old SRF records that I made of his chanting, Door of My Heart, and In This World, Mother, No One Can Love Me, and a couple of others. And she danced in a very sensitive and lovely way. It was really quite moving because it expressed so clearly and so in such a real way the thing that I feel is needed right now, and the thing that I feel Ananda, for one place in this world, can help others to accomplish. And that is, well, when you look at most dancing, for example, ballet, Western ballet, you have these moments where it's really lovely, very graceful, or expressing the mood of what they're trying to convey. And then suddenly it becomes calisthenics. Suddenly they're showing off. In the same with the Indian dancing, you see very graceful movements, very artistic movements, and suddenly they're showing all the things they can do. You listen to music, and it's the same thing. We had a program down here the number of winter. Remember that violinist? I was thinking, here she was showing off what a wonderful technician she was. And she was a good technician. She lacked a lot because she didn't have real expression. But she could move her fingers at lightning pace and so on. And I was thinking, if she were a real artist, she would think of us, not of showing off. She would think, here these people live in a small town. Not many of them have an opportunity to go down to listen to symphony programs. And what I should give them is beauty. What I should try to do is give them something that inspires them with the beauty of art, things that they love, new things that they would love if they had a chance to hear more. There wasn't a single piece that she played that was beautiful. All of it was to show her pyrotechnics. And she wanted to inspire us with the idea of what a great career she had, and maybe that with this she would advance more. Well, it's not just she. It's even the greatest musicians, the greatest composers have fallen a prey. This is why Mozart's music is perhaps the purest of all music, because he doesn't do that ever. Even the greatest musicians do it sometimes, but he doesn't do it ever. He always gives you just music. He's never showing off that now I've got a theme, I can bring in a counter theme, I can weave all these different patterns to show how very complex I can make it and still come out on top. He doesn't ever do it. Bach does it. He does it successfully, and that's why he's so great. Beethoven succeeded in doing it, and that's why he's so great, but still, even they show off to some extent. I can understand why Bruno Walter and some of the great conductors in their later years came to liking Mozart the best, because they said his is the purest music. It doesn't convey the deepest thing, but for a musician, for purity, he's absolutely true to what he's doing. He's only trying to convey the beauty of sound that he hears and not to tell you that he's a great composer. And this you find, and you when they get away with it, you say, okay. I mean, Beethoven, Bach, and others got away with it, and so you say, okay. A few lesser ones like Haydn, they try it, and you start thinking that he's a bit of a stuffed shirt. But still, he's a great composer, and so it's still wonderful. But you get down to modern composers and modern art, and it's become more and more and more towards specialization, complication, where if you don't know all the recent artists and all the recent composers and the different trends and counter-trends and sub-trends and super-trends and combination of trends and so on, as P.G. Wodehouse said it beautifully when he talked about the Neo-Scandinavian movement in Portuguese poetry. If you talk to the average artist today and don't know all these trends, he'll sneer at you as if you were a complete ignoramus. The idea being that you've got to know all these facts and know all these trends and then add something of your own. And I read about artists in Newsweek a couple of years ago who had added something of their own, and it was so original and therefore so marvelous. I mean, if it's new, it's got to be great, isn't it so? And so their great new breakthrough was gluing bits of paper and glass together. Didn't care what it looked like. Just the fact that they were making art of paper and glass. There was a famous exhibition of graduate students in an art college one time in England, I think it was, maybe Sundaram, you know. And their exhibition was a whole room full of absolutely blank canvases. Not a single stroke on these canvases. Do you know where that was? Incredible. They were doing it not seriously, and yet seriously. The idea was to rebel against the establishment. So much of art is a rebellion, a reaction against, a telling other people where to get off, a sort of a shafting the establishment, and all these different things that come from a complex society that come, I can see, after all the cities we've been in, what Mahatma Gandhi meant when he said that the cities are the greatest source of troubles nowadays. I think that he came a lot closer to it than that Indian astrologer who was saying that you should shave on the growing moon and cut your hair on the growing moon, and that it loses energy if you shave and cut your hair on the dying moon. And he then went on to say, much of the trouble of the age in which we live now comes from promiscuous shaving. But I think Mahatma Gandhi came closer to it when he said that the real trouble of our age is too many people. I noticed this in Kashmir. I went there first 19 years ago. And then it was very few people compared to now. And it was really beautiful. Now, 19 years later, it is not beautiful. The few little houseboats that were there, and now looks like a trailer park. Miles of these things, it looks like. And crowds everywhere, but the consciousness of people has changed too. And it's changed in the sense of everybody wanting to grab what he can. You can't walk down the street now without everybody standing outside his shop saying, you want to come in? Looking is free, come on in, please, come on in. And want to see some nice shawls, carpets, rugs, Indian handicraft, papier-mâché, and so on. And everybody trying to get what he can for himself, everybody competing with everybody else. Suffering Moses told me, because he doesn't want to make deals with the houseboat owners, that they make a point of when anybody wants to visit Suffering Moses, saying, oh, he's gone out of business. Or, oh, we don't know where he is. Or his wife is an American, and her roommate, was it Seva, her roommate, or college friend, was it? Yeah. She wrote saying that she would like to come visit Kashmir and see her and visit her. So her Mrs. Moses wrote back and said, "Oh, how lovely, I'd love to see you, and please look me up when you come," and so on. So months passed, and she finally wrote this friend and said, "Well, how come you never came?" And the friend wrote back and said, "You mean you're still there? I talked to my houseboat man and asked him, I said I wanted to go see you. He said, oh, Mrs. Moses divorced her husband and she's gone back to America. He closed up his shop, he's moved out into the country." And everybody cutting everybody else's throat, everybody trying to... It's such a vibration of selfishness, of competition, of greed, and the more people you get, the more that kind of vibration occurs just automatically. Because it's something I don't know quite yet how to define it. I can see it clearly in my mind, but not quite clearly enough to explain it. But it's that you get more and more people, and each seems to have to talk a little bit more loudly, push a little bit harder, run a little bit faster, and each one is feeding the other until finally you've got this whole culture of extreme tension in the complexity and so on that comes. And we've got to get back to man. We've got to pull back away from complexity. People look back sort of nostalgically at the Renaissance man. We've got to create something like that. But it's impossible to have the Renaissance man in the sense that Leonardo da Vinci could master different fields of knowledge and master all phases of it. He could become he could know everything that was known at that time in all these different fields of human endeavor. Well, you'd have to be omniscient to be able to do that today. But we've got to pull back and get back to man and start from that spirit, and then we can find, and do find, that from that spirit things evolve naturally. It isn't that we have to evolve new forms. Sally was incorporating classical ballet and Indian dance movements. Her training was that, but it was still new. It wasn't as if you said, oh, this is the tradition here. It was something new. It was a dimension she added to it, which came not from her technique, but simply from being in tune with the chants that she was expressing. It was a spontaneous thing coming from her deep inner feeling. I was trying to think about our songs. It's, as you know, I've written a lot of songs. Those of you who are new here. But those songs are not all that new in form. What makes them new is the spirit. And I find that other people getting into the mood of those songs, Vijay, Maitri, others have written beautiful songs. That song that Mukti wrote is so beautiful that it brings tears to my eyes when I hear it. It's the spirit of it. It's not the form. It's not the technique. We've got to get away from too much technical concentration, too much complexity that comes when you concentrate on the outer, and get back to man and his relation to the universe. And that man will be ever new. It doesn't matter whether he expresses himself in abstract, surreal, real, whatever you impressionistic or whatever form you want to use, it doesn't matter. It will be ever new, and it will express the age in which we are living, and it will express something new and vital to this age if we simply come back to this inner man and his relationship to God and his relationship to the universe. We've got to get away from overstatement and back to understatement again. Everything now, you pick up any book on the bookshelves in a store, and it's the greatest novel ever. It'll tell you so. It's got to be true. 10 weeks on the bestseller list, and everything is. It's like that movie writer, script writer, who gave a script to a producer, And the producer read it and called him in and said, "It's stupendous, it's colossal." And the script writer said, "You mean you don't like it?" I mean, where can you go from superlatives? You keep talking louder and louder and louder. It's sort of like that lovely little episode in the life of St. Francis when he got this vision and he saw where his work had to go. And he wanted to call to his brother monks there. And there was a very loud storm raging, and he couldn't even be heard by somebody standing next to him with the wind blowing as loudly as it was. And so he tricked the wind, and he tricked the storm, and he tricked the distance of space, because his fellow monks were actually scattered over many miles. And he simply talked very silently, very quietly, in a whisper. And he sent his mind out, and he said, "Brothers, come, I need you. We have to talk about something." And they all heard him, and they all came back. And this is what we need to do. A whisper can be louder than a shout if it's true, because it's in tune with the power of the universe. You just speak the truth. You speak from your heart. You speak what you really mean, and you don't have to say it loudly. And this is what we have to get back to. Get back to understatement. Get away from overstatement, shouting, exaggeration, complexity, technique, noise. All this, get back to man. This is what makes Indian music when it's really lovely. Unfortunately, they too. You notice every single raga that they play, they start out beautifully and it's so in tune with the universe. Then finally they start working themselves up, and you can just imagine the perspiration streaming from their faces. And it leaves you just ragged. There's so much noise, so much restlessness, so much activity. If they could just leave that stuff alone, all right, if they've got to convince us how technically great they are, let them do it once. But they do it with every one. It's just gotten into a routine that they feel they haven't completed it unless they've dragged you through the ringer of excitement. So again there, to get away from that and come down to just simply, with my songs and with the songs others have written, I presume it's the same thing, but I've had this experience. When I first made a record, Bimal, I think it was, took this record in, a friend of mine knew, he took this record into a man whose work was to promote records. And while he was listening to the record, he had two phones going. "Yeah, okay, now just a minute. Hey, okay, what do you want? Yeah, hello? Yeah, how, what? Okay, just a second. Now listen, we gotta get this going." And a secretary would come in and bring him something. "Okay, take it away, baby." Okay, all right. And finally the record was over, and he said, "Yeah, needs a heavier beat." A lot of people have told me that they had to listen to the songs several times before they began to really tune into them, because they're understated. And you're used to something loudly beating you over the head and so on. As you listen, you start to hear, well, it's saying something. And it's touching my heart. But you can't do it until the noise in your own mind starts to settle down a bit and you attune yourself to it. Well, that's what Ananda is. That's what the new, I believe, the whole new cooperative community movement is doing. It's not just making a noise. It's saying something quietly, and the establishment doesn't hear it. So what? People are hearing it. And those people are the ones who are going to change the course of destiny, not the politicians and not the people with the great money and the big business. They can manipulate the scenes, they can create inflation and depression, they can send us to war and take us out of war, they can create all sorts of ententes with unscrupulous powers and then get in with other people and then betray them, and they can do anything they want to, but they are not the ones who are going to change the course of history. We are going to change the course of history because we are saying something that we mean. It's true, yes, we believe it's true. But it's egotistical to say that we have a corner on truth. Nobody has a corner on truth. We can at least say that we are saying what we deeply believe and what we mean. And there are very few people in this world who are doing that. Most people don't say what they mean. Most people don't mean anything. You look at the faces as you go through the cities and you find that they are being led. They are being molded. They are reacting to the society in which they live. They are not adding anything to it. You take a handful of people, and this has happened all through history, a handful of people who really believe in something. They are the ones who change history. And there are some people who unfortunately really believe very negative things nowadays.